Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Brittany Castro, certified financial planner, and we're going to get it started in just a moment. I just want to allow some more time for people to join us live. Today, we're going to be talking about mastering life insurance for financial freedom. I want to use this time to answer any questions that you might have around life insurance. I'm also a certified financial planner, so I can answer any questions you might have in general about your financial planning goals and needs. So feel free to use the chat box and I can answer any questions that you might have during this live stream. And we'll get started. You can tell me where you're joining in from. Make sure that if you are watching this live, you really take advantage of this opportunity to ask your questions. I really want to make this educational, informative, and hopefully inspire you to take action on something you need to take action on as it relates to your financial life. Maybe it's going to be related to life insurance. Maybe it's going to be other things that you need to do as it relates to your financial life and your different goals that you're working toward. So I'm here in Los Angeles. If you notice, you might hear my raspy voice. I'm a little under the weather. I lost my voice actually like the second time in my life. So I didn't have a voice for like 2 days. It was very interesting. But it's coming back. And it's perfect time because we're going to be talking all about how to master life insurance for financial freedom, which is a great time as well because this is also Women's History Month. It's always great to spend time as women or even as men, looking at our financial goals, asking ourselves, where are we? Where do we want to be as it relates to our money lives? And what action items do we need to take to start building wealth, protect our wealth, protect our loved ones? So today is going to be focused more around life insurance. But again, if you have questions as it relates to other areas, you can go ahead and ask. And if you're watching the recording, you can also comment your question below so I can make sure to answer it even after this live stream. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been in the financial industry for over 15 years. I'm a certified financial planner, a speaker, an insurance broker. I'm also head of education at Signal Advisors, a wonderful insurtech, fintech company. And I love talking about financial literacy. I've spent my whole career working with financial planning clients through my financial planning business, which I sold in 2020, and also through all the content I've created with my own brand and other brands like Chase, Mint, Intuit, LinkedIn, you name it. I've probably worked on some sort of financial campaign with them, but really just trying to make money easier for people to understand, help individuals wherever they are in their financial journeys and make sure they have the tools, resources, and strategies to get to that next level, whatever level that is for them. So away from the office, if you can always find me meditating. I do a lot of meditation retreats and dancing. I love salsa dancing, especially right now. That is one of my main hobbies and workouts of choice. Tonight, we're going to cover, why do you need life insurance? What is this life insurance? I know a lot of people understand it, and a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about it because they feel like they're being sold something, especially from life insurance agents. So we're going to dig under, what is the reasoning, and then talk about the different types of life insurance so that you're clear about which type is right for you. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos recently about index universal life, cash value life insurance, which I do believe there's a place and a strategy for that, but it doesn't always make sense for people. Or I've also seen buy term and invest the difference. Don't buy a whole life policy, which I don't believe in either. I don't think there's a cookie cutter one approach to life insurance. I think you have to look at your own unique situation, your own unique goals, and figure out which type is right for you. And then we'll talk about, how do you actually use life insurance to build wealth? Like, what is it doing, So before we dive in, if you want to connect with me, I'm going to leave this up here. You can simply pull out your phone right now, even on the recording, scan this, and it'll pop up all of my information. And I want to offer everybody watching, either live or the recording, to take advantage of the free life insurance review call with me. It's a 20-minute call where we can dig in deeper around what are your goals, what are your needs, and what type of life insurance would make sense for you. As a broker, I work with over 15 carriers. I look at your situation, figure out what is going to be the right type of life insurance for you, and then work with you to get that coverage in place. Also, you can check out my other free offerings. I have a free video, the 3 things you need to know before you buy life insurance, that you can sign up and download and watch. And I have a lot of other courses online too that you can take beyond life insurance, a money class and an investing class. So check out my stuff, follow me on Instagram. That's the best way to connect with me, and make sure you sign up for that free life insurance review call. So let's first start by, why do you need life insurance? Well, basically you need life insurance if you love someone or owe someone. So when you pass away, your debts don't die. And usually you have dependents, or most people might have dependents where they want to leave behind money to make sure those dependents are taken care of in the event of their premature passing. So nobody wants to leave their family in a worse off financial situation, but oftentimes that's what's happening because people don't have life insurance or adequate life insurance. I think almost 42% of Americans have life insurance, so not even half of Americans have, or it could be 52%. Sorry for my stats. So let's just say about half of Americans have life insurance, but we all know 100% of us are going to pass away. Not to be morbid, but that is a reality. And I have been seeing more and more and more GoFundMe accounts, campaigns for funeral expenses, final expenses. Nothing wrong with that. And you got to do what you got to do. But I also believe that, by looking at life insurance as a way to protect yourself, your family, and your loved ones and your assets, you can avoid all of that unnecessary aftermath, because your family's already going to be grieving your loss. They don't want to have to worry about being in a worse off financial situation. So when you pass away, there's maybe going to still be a mortgage that you owe. Maybe you still want to be able to send your kids to college or private school. There's going to be funeral expenses, which can be anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 or more, depending on where you live. Maybe you have some credit card debt. Maybe you have student loan debt. Maybe you have a car loan. So your savings or whatever you have in your investment vehicles may not be enough to pay off all of those debts, pay for your funeral expenses, and give your family the income replacement that they'd be missing out on because you're no longer here to provide. So you really have to be brave to have this conversation with yourself, with your loved ones. I know it can be uncomfortable for a lot of people because it's addressing death, which is not an easy conversation. But you got to be brave and have these conversations, because you really want to be clear what is going to be the situation. Like, what would happen if something happened to you? And you want to just be honest and say, do I have enough of coverage or not? And if you don't, now's a chance to explore what type of life insurance would be right for you. So the different types of life insurance are basically 3: term life insurance, whole life, and index universal life. So I want to spend some time going over each one of those. The first one is term. This is basically covering you for a specific period of time. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, depending on which term you select. It's usually the cheapest because most people outlive the term. Over 90% of term policies never pay out, meaning people outlive the term, which is good for you. But that's why it's most cost efficient. Really, the main thing here is you're going to give a tax-free death benefit if you passed away within that time period, okay? So when you have a high need for life insurance, maybe you have young kids at home, high income earning years, your need for life insurance is extremely high. But as you get closer to retirement, your kids are out of the house, mortgage is almost paid off, your need for life insurance might not be as high as it once was before. So a lot of times clients will get term insurance to protect them during that period of time where they need a lot, and knowing that it probably will outlive the term, but at least if anything were to happen, they have that coverage. Now, some term policies these days offer living benefits, which is something you want to think about. Do you want to add living benefits on your term life insurance? Some have cash back options, meaning return of premium. If you didn't pass away within that term, you get to collect all your premiums back. So there's different bells and whistles that you might want to think about for your term life insurance. These premiums are lower. So like, let's say I have a 30-year, 1 million term. This is going to be lower premium, lower cost than, let's say, a whole life or index universal life for $1 million, which we'll talk about in a second. Also, some term policies allow you to convert the term into permanent at some point within that term. So that's also something to think about. And what I help my clients do is say, okay, maybe you can't afford permanent life insurance, or maybe you don't like have you can't afford all of your coverage in permanent, so let's get term, knowing that at some point within that term period you can convert some or all of this into a permanent, pay those higher premiums, but now it's a permanent insurance. So there's lots of different things you want to explore even with a term life insurance. Now, for those professionals who say buy term and invest the difference, okay, what they're really saying is buy cheap insurance, term insurance, and then take the rest of the money and put it into some sort of investment vehicle to grow and compound your money over there. Now, I do think that's a great, strategy, of course, but sometimes people want and need permanent life insurance. So I still don't think everybody is going to be a buy term and invest the difference. So the next two types of life insurance are what we consider permanent, meaning it lasts until you last, right? Like these contracts are written to age 100, 120 nowadays. So it's going to cost more to own a whole life or universal life, but it doesn't expire like a term insurance does. So at some point your beneficiary is going to get this tax-free death benefit. Now let's talk about that for a second. Tax-free death benefit. Life insurance is one of the only investment vehicles, or I shouldn't say investment, is only vehicle that will give your beneficiary, whoever you name beneficiary on this policy, a tax-free benefit. $1 million goes to my beneficiary tax-free upon my passing, unlike other assets, okay? And it's pretty immediate. So this life insurance check, I've seen it. I've experienced it in my own family with clients. It comes relatively quick. Once you file the claim, it can come within a few weeks, unlike other assets like 401k money or real estate that you have to liquidate and sell. It takes a lot longer to get that kind of money. So with life insurance, you're giving your beneficiary a tax-free death benefit pretty immediately that they can then use for funeral expenses, start paying for living expenses, other things that they want to use that money for. So just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. All right, so back to whole life insurance. This one is a permanent insurance, meaning again, it's going to last until age 100, 120. Now it does cost more because some of that it does cost more because it's permanent, right? The beneficiary is going to get the money. And then some of the monthly premium that you're paying for this cost of insurance goes into an account within the policy. It's called like a fixed account. Some of the premium goes straight to pay for the cost of insurance, which you'll see there as COI. Some of it goes into that fixed account. So maybe down the road, when you're 60, 70, if you've got this policy in your 30s, you can stop paying premiums because there's enough money in that sub account to pay for the cost of insurance, keep the policy alive, which is a nice feature. Or maybe you want a little bit more growth on your cash value. So that's where an index universal life insurance policy comes into play. Now, these are very popular on TikTok nowadays. I'm seeing so much promotion of these, which I do think is good. However, you need to understand the details of an index universal life insurance, also known as cash value life insurance. So this is also a permanent insurance, meaning the policy will last until age 100, 120. It does cost more premium. So unlike a $1 million term, if you get a $1 million index universal life, it's going to cost a lot more every month. Now, the premiums are flexible. There's like target premium, minimum premium, max premium you could put in. So there's some variables that you have to work with your trusted financial professional, so you know that you're putting enough money into this policy to keep it alive, keep it healthy, funded. You don't want to get into this policy and put the bare minimum in, because that's going to run the risk of this policy lapsing, which is going to be a big pain point in the future if you do that. So you really have to understand the details of this type of policy. So you're going to have to put in a little bit more, and that amount of premium, you're going to work with your trusted professional to help you with what amount would be right. The death benefit comes tax-free. Now, some of that monthly premium, instead of it going just into this fixed account, it's going to go into a sub account that's credited based on whatever index you choose. So there's like the S&P index, there's different indexes, and that sub account is going to get a credit. Now there's a floor and then there's a cap. So if the S&P, like say for example, you choose the S&P indexing credit option year over year, if the S&P does negative, you're never going to get a negative return. You'll get zero. But if the S&P does like say 20%, you're not going to get the full 20%. You're going to get whatever cap they have on that in specific policy that you're using. Let's say it's like 10%. So on average, those types of cash value sub accounts, maybe like 6-7% rate of return, depending on what product, what sub accounts you're investing in, etc. But you're going to start to accumulate some cash value inside of the policy. Now, that cash value later, you don't want to think about it as like a savings account you could tap into next year. No, 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 no. But later, let's say you've been investing 10 years, you have some money, 20 years, you have some money in that cash value. You could take a loan out of that policy. It's considered a tax-free loan because you're loaning against your own cash value. And that's a benefit that you can use during your lifetime. Also, a lot of the index universal life insurance also have living benefits on them now. So that's another benefit that you could use during your lifetime. So living benefits could be terminal illness, critical illness, chronic injury, chronic critical injury. So if you qualified for one of those events, you could actually access, there's different calculations, but your death benefit during your lifetime. So basically, there's a lot of variables on an index universal life. This can come in a nice strategy if you need permanent coverage. You have the ability to fund this policy at a healthy amount, and you want to have that like maybe option down the road for some cash value. So a lot of times when working with clients, I look at, okay, how old are they? What's their health situation? What are you trying to do with life insurance? How much life insurance do you need? And then we figure it out. Are you going to get all in term insurance? Are you going to get some in maybe permanent with like the most of it in term? Are you just going to get permanent? For people who want to leave a legacy, like I just want to leave enough money behind now. I'm thinking like legacy, they're going to get some sort of permanent policy. You're not going to get a term that like you could possibly outlive the term and the legacy is not even going to come into play. So it's very important to like review your goals, know what are you trying to achieve with life insurance, and then strategize and figure out, okay, what type. And then once you know what type, then we could look at the best carriers or companies for that specific type. And even if you have health issues, I want to remind you that doesn't mean you're not able to get life insurance. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to qualify or it's going to cost too much. Okay, you shouldn't let these objections hold you back from exploring your options. First and foremost, a lot of insurance companies now cover a lot of health issues that they wouldn't even cover, 10 years ago. So things have changed. So that shouldn't be a factor. And also when it comes to cost, I mean, really, you got to figure out how much do you need, how much can you afford, and that's kind of the art of this, planning. But there's probably going to be some sort of option out there for you. And even if you can't get all the life insurance that you want, at least get something so that you can provide that death benefit to your loved ones. So again, it really comes down to figuring out how much do you need? What is this for? Do you want to leave a legacy? Or are you like a parent and you have young kids at home? You want to make sure there's enough money if something were to happen to either of you prematurely. Can you afford any permanent insurance within your budget and other goals that you're working on? Like I said, I do a lot of the hybrid strategy. Other things you want to look at, do you need living benefits? Is that something you're even interested in? Do you want to just scrap that altogether? Do you want the ability to convert? If you get a term insurance, you want to be able to convert it later. So these are just questions that any good professional will help, guide you so that you can answer them, and we could then explore the right types of life insurance. So when it comes to life insurance as a whole, I mean, this is just one part of your financial plan, right? So other financial goals I want to remind you are your cash cushion, which is money that you want to leave behind in some sort of liquid vehicle so that if there's an emergency or opportunity, you have enough money to like pull from immediately where you don't have to use that. Other goals, you might need to work on paying off some debt. Maybe you're saving for a home down payment or a second property. Maybe you have a new car you want to save for, a big travel or a wedding coming up. Those are short term goals that you want to make sure you're setting aside money for. Or maybe it's a long term goal that we all have to save for, which is retirement. How can we start to invest our dollars in the stock market, in our 401k, IRAs? Real estate, other investment vehicles that will grow our money over time faster than a savings account will. Maybe you have kids that you want to be able to fund some of their college or all of their college. So it's really important to assess the entire situation and figure out, okay, based on how much money we have to work with every month and the rest of your financial goals, how do we divvy up this money into these different categories so that you have a solid financial plan? Whatever life insurance you get in place, you could sustain for the long haul. Because, I've also been around for a while and I've seen a lot of bad advice where maybe insurance agents will just say, put all the money in an insurance policy, and they forget to look at all of this. They don't see if the client has a cash cushion. They don't see if the client has other short-term goals that they need to save for. They don't even ask, do they have a 401k or IRA? So you really have to look at the complete picture and figure out what strategy is going to be best for you. And that's where working with a financial planner really is helpful, because we can look at that entire situation with you. Another thing to consider just when it comes to life insurance is sometimes with generational wealth and legacy planning. If you're able to, life insurance for your kids is another great idea, really, because it's guaranteed coverage. You can get your kids policies when they're young. You lock in those low premiums, and then they can build some cash value, and then when they're of age, you can transfer the policy to them, so now they're the owner, and let them take over the premium payments from there. So this is really nice if you can, and if you do have the ability to do this. I would say start with your other goals like we just talked about, right? Making sure you have your cash cushion, your own retirement solid, and other goals you're working toward. And then if you have extra and can do this for your children, it's a really great strategy. Or maybe you have parents and grandparents of the kids who want to be able to do this for them, so you can talk to them about that. Generational wealth is also another really hot topic, and life insurance is a great way to provide generational wealth, because really you can leave a large sum of money behind in a life insurance policy that maybe you couldn't have accumulated on your own just by saving and investing. So that death benefit can really provide the next generation, your kids, your grandkids, with a lump sum of money. And if you have proper estate planning documents, you can help direct how they get the money, at what age they get the money. But that's like an inheritance that you're leaving behind that could put them in a new, possibly better financial situation than you're able to give them today. Also, just with like bigger estate planning, death benefit of a life insurance policy can be used to pay any estate tax. So when your estate's large, there's something called estate tax that you have to worry about. So then life insurance can come into play to provide enough money to pay for that estate tax, so they preserve the rest of the assets, meaning they don't have to like take some of the assets to pay for those estate taxes. So it's really a great way to leave generational wealth. And I think, just having the conversations around how much do I have now? How much do I want? How do we fill the gap is such an important thing. So that's really the next step here. I want to encourage all of you to have these conversations, whether it's with me or some other trusted professional. But here's my calendar. where you can schedule your time and to have that life insurance review call with me. You can also just go to brittanycastro.me and see all of my information, all the different links to either book the call or sign up for my free video or follow me on Instagram, whatever it might be. But hopefully this was educational enough to give you the basics of life insurance, of using it for financial freedom, of providing your family, your loved ones, the money they need to sustain and live comfortably. And don't be afraid to connect. I love answering any questions you might have. I love to be a resource for any and all of you. So if you or anyone you know in your circle has questions about financial planning, life insurance, feel free. Here's my information. Again, you can just take your phone, scan that with your picture, pops up all my information, and we'll be good to go. So if we don't have any questions, I'm going to end the live stream now. But thank you so much for being with me today, learning about life insurance, learning about different ways to master your financial goals. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you soon.